Hey friends, I'm Catherine and I'm feeling a little under the weather today, so I want to share with you one of my favorite comfort crafts. I love crocheting and I want to show you how to crochet a granny square today. This is a granny square. It's one of my favorite patterns. There are all different kinds of granny square patterns and you can make all sorts of things from granny squares, so it's an excellent place to start learning to crochet. This one is crocheted from the center outward in a spiral and ends up as a square with this cross of holes decoratively through it. So we're going to get started. I'm going to teach you a couple of stitches and we're going to see how it goes. The first thing that we want to do, since we're starting from the center, is make a center ring to crochet around. There is a thing called a magic circle that you can do. I'm not going to teach you that today. I kind of think it's a little unnecessary because you can just tie it around your finger, double knot it, and there you have a circle. It's not difficult to do, and if you tie it around the same finger every time, you end up with a circle that's the same size every time. It doesn't have to be specific. It's just sort of the size of a finger. So then we've got this tail that leads to nowhere and this tail that leads to the rest of our ball of yarn. To start making our granny square, the first thing that we're going to do is grab that tail that leads to the rest of the ball of yarn and pull it through our loop, or our circle that we made, so that it creates a loop around our crochet hook. This happens to be a size 9 crochet hook, so it's kind of a large one, but this is large yarn, so it's all going to work out. So we've got our loop around our crochet hook, and then the first thing that we are going to do is two chain stitches. A chain stitch is, in my personal opinion, one of the easiest things to do with crochet. So you've got that tail that leads to the rest of your ball of yarn and you wrap it around your hook, so now you've got the yarn looped around the hook twice, and then you pull the one that you wrapped around through the other one, and then you've only got one loop on again, and that's one chain stitch. So we're going to do two chain stitches, so we just did another, and that's it for the chain stitches. So now we've got some chain stitches coming off of this circle. The next thing that we're going to want to do is a double stitch for this granny square. A double stitch is just like a single, except for before you do the stitch, you wrap your yarn around your hook once. That's it. Just wrap your yarn around your hook once. Now we're going to set our stitch through our loop, that original loop that we made. So we just stick our hook through the loop, grab our tail of yarn that leads to the ball of yarn with our hook, and pull it back through that loop. That should give us 3 loops of yarn around our hook. We wrap that tail of yarn one more time, so now we've got the yarn wrapped around the hook 4 times, and then we pull that one closest to the hook end through 2 of those loops, which pulls 2 of those loops off and leaves us with 2 loops on our hook. We wrap it around once more and pull it through those 2 loops, and now we've got just one, and we're back to the beginning. And that's how you do a double stitch. We're going to do that one more time. So wrap it around, stick it through, wrap it around again, pull it through 2 loops, wrap it around, pull it through 2 loops. There we go. We've got a second double stitch. So now we've got 2 chains, 1 double, and another double. 2 chains is the equivalent, the same height as a double stitch, which is why they look the same height all the way along. The next thing that we want to do is 3 chain stitches. That's what's going to create the corner here. It's what's going to create this hole, and it's what's going to give us our corners. So we're going to wrap it around once, pull it through. That's 1. Again, that's the second, and again, that's a third. Awesome, so we've got this tail leading off here. Now we're going to ignore that and place 3 more double stitches. So same thing that we did before. 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's 3 double stitches. And you might be able to see we've got 2 sides of a square. So we need to do 2 more sides. So we've got to do another corner. Just as we formed it the first time, we're going to do 3 chain stitches to form our corner. So 1, 2, 3, and then do a double stitch. And we're going to do 3 double stitches. So 1, 2, 3. That gives us a third side of our square. We need to do another corner. So we're going to do 3 more chain stitches. 1, 2, 3. And then 3 more double stitches for the 4th side. So 1, 2, well, that's 1, 2, 3, and then all we need to do is close this corner off with 3 chain stitches. So 1 chain stitch, 2 chain stitches, 3 chain stitches, and hook it through our first pickup and close it off. And there we go. We have got 4 sides of a square and the center of our granny square. So that's this right here. All right. Next layer outward is going to be this one. And it's done exactly the same way, except after you do the 1, 2 chain stitches to lead it out, you start setting your double stitches in your first set of double stitches. So there's a double, there's a double, and then when you reach this end here, you've got this chain stitch here, you're going to set 1 double stitch through that loop of chain stitches before you do your corner outward. So I've set 1 double stitch through this loop of chain stitches, and now I'm going to do 3 chain stitches. 3, there we go. And then before I start in on these double stitches, I am going to set another double in that loop of chain stitches, so the inner loop at this point. And then I can just start setting them in like I would normally. I place them right in the top of the previous chain stitch just so that they catch the top loop. See, if you can see, here's 1 stitch, there's another one, and I just set it right in that top loop. And then I'm back around to this chain loop again. So I set 1 in the chain loop, which, if I've done it right, gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double stitches on this side instead of 3. So each side will grow by 2 double stitches, if I do it right, hopefully. So then I need another set of chain stitches, and we're just going to keep going around like that all the way, and then keep building a new layer on top of the previous one. We might speed up through this part. We're just gonna keep building a new layer, and then reaching the end and adding an extra one, and then doing 3 chain stitches to turn our corner, and then start the next side by adding an extra stitch on the end. And just do that all the way around, so that we end up with 5 stitches on each side instead of 3. And then once we go out to the next layer, we will end up with 7 stitches on each side instead of 5. And then once we go out to the layer beyond that, we will end up with 9 stitches on each layer instead of 7. 1, 2, 3, go. And then when I get to this one, I always like to count and double check, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and that one gives me 5. So that's 5, and I can close it off. There we go. So now we've got a square with 2 sets. Now, the next layer. 1, 2, and then forward. All right, so that gives us our granny square. Now, we're going to want to tie it off. See this granny square? Same size as this one. Perfect. Tying it off is actually really, really easy. You just do a chain stitch and pull it tight. And then I like to do a second chain stitch for good measure and also pull it tight. Then take a pair of scissors and trim off your tail that leads to your yarn. And instead of pulling your hook out of your loop, you pull the end through the loop. And then you can pull it down tight, and that makes a knot that is not going anywhere. Anyway, that is how you do a granny square. If you liked it, definitely let me know. I am thinking about putting these granny squares together with these granny squares and making a blanket. What do you think? Do you want to see how you put granny squares together to make a blanket? I'm happy to show you. If you want to see, let me know. Otherwise, remember to subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye!